We're on Rule 9. We're going to continue on. Like I said before, there's most likely going to be a Rule 9 Part 2. Because there's a lot of information we're going to cover and give a little clarification on a couple of things as well, where there can be some misunderstanding, especially in the personal foul area. Real quick, I think I'm going to see if it talks about it here. Game officials in action. Rule 9 is all about basically fouls, right? It's not talking about the line of scrimmage. It's just talking about what players' conduct and actions. But again, I want to cover a couple things. One, preventive officiating. That is one of my biggest things. If we can prevent something from happening, if we can use any technique or any verbiage we can do, the ideal preventive officiating is preventing fouls that we can get ahead of, right? And the definition is dealing with minor rule infractions using verbal correction, therefore enhancing the flow of the game. And it's the key is there is minor rule infractions. Not obviously, as we go through Rule 9, if we see targeting or any unsafe act, we really can't we're not going to give a verbal warning about that. We're going to throw a flag on it, right? But minor rule infraction, like, heading the neutral zone a little bit, little movement on the line, stuff like that we don't really call false start, we let go, or anything that we see, let's say 12 on the field, and we tell the coach, count your players. All that is part of preventive officiating, right? Now, preventive practices is a little different than preventive officiating, but they're two sides of the same coin. Preventive practices is maintaining game control using verbal communication and officials' presence, therefore enhances players' conduct. And that is when we have, let's say we have a goal line play, or we have a bang play, and we got all these players in a pile. The wing official, umpire, referee, we want to close in on those plays and say, all right, everybody get up, roll off, no push off the ground. A lot of times when players know that we're looking and we're close, they're less likely to take a cheap hit or a cheap shot or push somebody head into the ground when we're right there with them. So preventive practices is basically just continuing with the verbal communication, but also closing in there and let them know that you are watching them when they're unpiling from each other and things of that nature. For example, as a referee, when I see the quarterback release the ball, I yell out, "Ball's away." So that defender who's coming in trying to make that tackle know that the ball is going and he can pull up and not follow through with that tackle because he might not be paying attention. When you got two linemen going at it and the runner's already going, the umpire or referee be like, "Hey, the ball's going, guys, relax." You can calm down. There's no reason for you guys to continue on in combat because the ball is already out of the area. So again, those are what we call preventive practices and preventive officiating. All right. So let me clarify something one of my favorite rules, if you know me, my favorite rule is, one of my favorite rules is Rule 119. And Rule 119 says that game officials have the authority to make decisions on rule infractions. And I say that because we get a lot of coaches that always say, you have to call that, you have to flag that, you have to, like we have no other, that's the only choice we have when we see something that we have to call it. And that rule says to make decisions. We have the authority to make a decision, which means I can just make a decision and I'm going to go left or am I going to go right? So am I going to call that or am I not going to call that? When I emphasize that, I'm really, again, talking about minor rule infractions. I'm talking about, he's lined up in a neutral zone. You have to call that. I do not have to call that. Or that 8-year-old is moving a little bit online. You have to call that. No, I do not. I get to make that decision based on their experience, the age, the spirit of the rule, I can make a decision if I want to call that or not. But that does not mean if I see a major rule infraction that I can choose not to call that. Let me give you an example of what I mean by a minor rule infraction and a major rule infraction, and a decision to call it, and a decision that, yeah, I do have to call it. Let's say as a law enforcement officer, I'm driving and I'm speeding. Let's say I'm going 5 miles over the speed limit. And the officer pulls me over. The officer will be like, hey, you're going fast. I need you to slow it down. I'm gonna give you a warning. Just slow it down and not continue to drive as fast. He can give me a ticket based on the letter of the law, but he also has the discretion to give me a warning. Now, let's say I'm driving and I run over a person. It'd be kind of weird. Officer said, listen, you just ran over a person, but I'm going to give you a warning. No, in that case, I'm going to get a ticket, maybe get arrested if it's considered to be premeditated or negligence on my part. I'm going to get arrested. There's no such thing as a warning by running someone over. And the same thing in football. We can give warnings for minor rule infractions. We do not have to call every single thing we see, right? If we did, we already know it'll go from an hour-and-a-half game to a 3-hour game, and everybody's gonna be upset because we're actually influencing and slowing down the game. It won't be fun to watch. However, if we see something major, something that affects a player's safety or incite roughness or fighting, we have to call those. We can't give a warning for those. We can't say, well, turn a blind eye and don't do it again. And I hope that makes sense. So in Rule 9, conduct of players and others, the first section is helping the runner. Now, this is a very controversial rule, and we really don't see it a lot. And a lot of times we don't see it called in high school or youth because we're majorly influenced by the NCAA and National Federation High School, the NFL, when we see this. And basically, it's assisting the runner. It is illegal to push the runner from behind or pull the runner in an effort to gain yardage. So we might see this at a goal line play, where the defense stopped the runner from crossing the goal line, and then his teammates come behind him on a secondary push and drives him into the goal to score, or drives him to gain yardage, right? By rule, that is a foul for helping or assisting the runner, right? Now, we know by rule, and when we go back to Rule 4, and we talked about what plays cause a play to be dead, it says the ball becomes dead and the down ends when the runner is held so its forward progress is stopped. So this is the thing, especially the wing officials, there's a difference in a runner getting hit and bouncing back, not in control of a defender, and roll out to gain more yardage, or a runner who get wrapped up by the defense, a defender, and is held so he cannot drive forward, and then his teammates come behind and push him forward. So again, this is a judgment call. And we have experiences where we called it and coaches went ballistic, especially when they was trying to score. They actually got into the goal line and we called it back for helping the runner. The thing is, remember this rule here, Rule 422. The best thing to do is just blow the whistle, blow it dead, as soon as its forward progress is stopped. That way, we're preventing the teammates from coming and driving him in, especially on a second drive, and driving him into the goal line. And now we have to deal with this issue, especially when we throw a flag, and now he's going to lose 5 yards on that play. Again, this is a discretionary call, and it's up to you as a referee or as a game official to just use your game experience and know that it's unfair for the defense who did their job to stop the runner. That's the job of the defense. Disadvantage to them to allow teammates to help aid the runner and push forward. Teammates may block to protect the runner, but they can't push, pull, anything like that to assist the runner in gaining yardage. All right. I hope that's we got that clarified and understand that, and that's the rule. All right. That was it for section 1, helping the runner. All right, section 2, illegal use of the hands and holding. All right, illegal use of the hands. We're going to talk about that first. Believe it or not, there's a different, the hand signal may be the same. And the illegal use of the hands or holding, but it's not. But you know, the hand signals are interchangeable. A lot of times, every time we do something, I always think it's holding. Sometimes it's not holding. All right, so look at this. The first thing we're talking about illegal use of the hand is the runner may not grasp a teammate. So in section 1, we've seen that a teammate can't grasp the runner or pull them or push them forward, but also the runner can't grasp a teammate in front of him and run holding his jersey. All right. So that is illegal use of the hands. All right. Let's look at offensive players in illegal use of the hands. Using a blocking technique which is not permissible by Rule 232 or 233. Now again, guys, we do not have a lot of time to cover every single thing like I want to. I really believe we should have a special section training just on blocking, talking about free blocking zone and what you can do, illegal and permissible and illegal blocking techniques, and we may do that. But you know, like I said before, the rule books, we have them, you can order them, and then you can cover those, you can go through those references and you can read it for yourself. But that's what we want you to do anyway, is get into the rule book for yourself and read the rules for yourself. What you do here is just a supplement to that and just adding to that, but you know, we want you to own it. And the only way you own it is when you read it for yourself. All right. Defensive player. The same thing. Use a technique that is not permissible by Rule 232 and 235. Use of the hands to add momentum to charge a teammate, charge of a teammate on the line of scrimmage. So it's like, let's say you got a linebacker on someone on a blitz, and he put his hands on the shoulders of his 2 down linemen. He can't do that and then push off to add momentum to his charge. Okay. And contact an eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker. All right, let's talk about this one. That's why I have it in there. We've been doing a lot of flag football lately, and one of the rules in flag football is they're allowing contact within the 5 yards from the line of scrimmage out. That you can apply some contact. In the National Federation of High School rules, once an eligible receiver is no longer a potential blocker, the defender, the cornerback, cannot put his hands on that eligible receiver. So if the eligible receiver is coming out toward the corner, the B can take reasonable defense and say, okay, he's coming toward me. I'm a block. I'm going to defend myself. But let's say that the receiver runs a slant route right off the line of scrimmage. He comes off, he slice left or slice right on the inside, that defender, that corner, cannot legally put his hands to disturb or the 5-yard bump rule, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't apply to high school or youth. So if he put his hands on that receiver and you feel that contact is disturbing his rhythm, speed, and balance, he's not going toward the defender. The defender cannot put his hands on that eligible receiver, right? That is illegal use of the hands, right? Typically what we say, the guideline, if the receiver is on the same yard line or advance of the blocker, he is no longer a potential blocker, right? So if I'm in front of you, I'm a potential blocker. If I'm beside you, I'm no longer a potential blocker. So if I if I go around the defender and the defender put his hands on me on the side and push me out of bounds, that is illegal use of the hands. If he's holding me and riding me with his hands as I go down the field, I don't care if it's 1 to 5 or 2 in the yard line, technically, illegal use of the hands, right? Again, you can use your judgment because it's not necessarily, it's a speed limit violation, not I ran over a person violation. So as a referee, as a game official, you can use your discretion, but understand that anything like that is giving an advantage to the defense, and that is illegal by rule, right? It's a 10-yard penalty. All right, holding. An offensive player shall not use his hands, arms, or legs to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle, or hold in an effort to restrain an opponent, right? Like seeing the picture right there, you grab him by the shoulder pads and yank him up. Any of those things, lock him with the legs and take him to the ground, any of those things is considered a hold. Now we know holding, again, most time it's called an advantage, disadvantage as a point of contact, right? So if the play is going to the right and there's a hold to the left, you got to use your judgment. Is it a really bad hold where might be more of a roughness where you might want to call? It's not necessarily the hold you're calling, but the roughness of the hold, the lineman drove him to the ground where it can be a safety issue or something like that. But it's on you to decide to call it or not call it. Some veterans do not call hold that's not in the point of contact because has no effect on the play, right? So again, was it a hold? Yes. Could you point to that lineman, hey, number 62, hey man, you get those hands in, you're grabbing too much, you're too handy. Yes, you can do that. You can give him a warning without giving him a flag if it does not have a monetary effect on the play, okay? A defensive player shall not use his hands or arms to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle, or hold in an effort to restrain an opponent other than a runner. So obviously, if he's a runner, he can do all those things, but a non-runner, he cannot. So you have to differentiate. Now, the illegal use of the hands and holding both carry 10-yard penalty, 10-yard foul, 10-yard penalty. All right. So holding and illegal use of the hands, illegal use of hands basically means you just riding them, you pushing them, whatever, but you're not necessarily grabbing him, you're not necessarily pulling his jersey or anything like that, trying to restrain him. You mostly just riding him with your hands. Okay. So that's most like illegal use of the hands. Holding is obviously you grabbing them, you hooking them, you pulling them by the to slow him down or whatever the case may be. Now we know once the ball is in the air and is across the neutral zone and is heading in that direction, that holding or that illegal use of the hands can now be interpreted as pass interference. Right? The difference is between a 10-yard penalty and a 15-yard penalty. Right here, I do have this this handout if you want it, just let me know, and I'll put it on the website, or I will download it. It gives 6 types of holding. The classifications is NFL pretty much came out with this. This is referee.com, and it just helps you to describe what you've seen to make sure that we know you're talking about a hold. Right. So we got the tackle hold, we got the pull over, the hook and restrain, the grab and restrict, the takedown, and the jerk and restrict. You know, the takedown is basically you come, you grab them, you just take them down to the ground with you. Things of that nature. All of those 6 types of holding that helps you to be able to, you know, when you're saying, hey, you know, what did you have? I had a takedown, or I had a jerk and restrict, or he tackled him, I had a pull over, or I had a hook and restrict, or grab and restrict. You know, different things to help you describe it. So that's a yes, I did see that. I did have a hold, and this is what I see. All right. That's it for illegal use of the hand and holding. All right. Section 3, illegal blocking. Blocking is obstructing an opponent by contacting him with the arms or hands, provided the technique is legal in 231. Again, get your reference book, look it up. Or your rule book, look up. We got the closed grip and the open grip technique. All right. Blocking by a player either on offense or defense is illegal when it is kick catching interference. All right. Again, R has every right to the ball. And if B make contact with a receiver in position to receive the ball, that is kick catching interference. All right. So K cannot interfere with R's ability to catch the ball. All right. Can't block them, can't make contact. Or pass interference, as in 7-5-10. Again, any blocking or any contact happens once the ball is thrown, goes from being illegal use of the hands or holding or blocking, whatever, to a forward pass interference. And a personal foul is in 9-4. So again, some blocking based on how it was done can be a personal foul. We'll look at that when we get to Rule 9. Section. Okay. A player shall not block an opponent in the back or below the waist, except if in the free blocking zone when the contact meets the requirements of 217. We're going to look at the free blocking zone diagram in a little bit, but again, just based on the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to spend a lot of time on a free blocking zone. When we get into our next course, the basic in-depth course, we're going to spend a lot more time looking at the free blocking zone and what the free blocking zone consists of. Many of y'all who does youth, we can't block. The youth league that we do, Mid-Florida, does not allow blocking below the waist, even though it's allowed in the free blocking zone. So that doesn't apply. But blocking in the back in the free blocking zone does apply. But again, we will get more into that in our next course. If you want to know more about the free blocking zone, get a rule book or give me a call and we'll talk more about it. All right. Or the exception is to tackle a runner or a player pretending to be a runner. Right. So obviously a runner is these don't apply clipping, holding, all these fouls that happens never applies to a runner, other than tripping, which we'll see. But other than that, you can hold a runner, you can clip a runner, you can block a runner below the waistline, all that stuff like that to take out a runner. All right, we got a diagram for a free blocking zone. A free blocking zone is a rectangular area extended laterally 4 yards either side of the spot of the snap and 3 yards behind each line of scrimmage. a player in the free blocking zone when a part of his a player is in the free blocking zone when any part of his body is in the zone at the snap. So it's 4 yards on either side of the ball, which is 8 yards. It's 3 yards from each from the neutral zone line of scrimmage, so that makes it 6 yards, right? So if you look at the players in color, they're in the free blocking zone, which means in the free blocking zone, blocking below the waist and blocking in the back by the offense is legal, right? It becomes illegal once the ball leaves the neutral zone. Again, we're not going to really spend too much time talking about that, but again, if you get a rule book, look it up. Want to talk about it later? We can. Now, I asked a question in the text message, or when is it legal to block somebody or push somebody in the back? The offensive blocker is between the runner and the potential tackler. The defender pushes the blocker from behind above the waist, then continues to pursue and make the tackle. The contact by the defender on the blocker is legal. It is also legal to use hands on the back of an opponent when the ball is loose and the player may legally recover it. All right. So what we're saying is this: as a B who's trying to get to a runner, if there's another A runner in between him and the runner, he can push him in the back to get him out the way to make a legitimate tackle. All right. Again, what we're going to look at, because we're going to look at blindside blocking, is how the contact is made, and it can still be a personal foul if we feel that the contact it falls on the blindside blocking, obviously, if he's not making that contact with open hands. But he can push a player out of the way to make the tackle. A fumble on the ground, if the player is making a legitimate attempt to recover the ball, he can push another opponent in the back out the way to recover that ball. So blocking in the back is legal. So what about a screen pass behind the line of scrimmage? Right? The corner can come up, legally push the receiver in the back out the way to catch the ball. It is not pass interference because it's not beyond the line of scrimmage, right? And it's a loose ball, and he has every right to recover that ball. All right. So those little things you understand that it is legal to push somebody in the back in those circumstances. All right. So let's look at blocking in regards to the kicking game, which illegal blocks in regards to the kicking game. The kicker or place kick holder of a free kick may not be blocked before they advance 5 yards beyond his free kick line, or the kick has touched the ground or any other player. Right? Don't really see this happen much. Can't imagine a receiver on a free kick just rushing forward to take out the kicker and holder. But apparently it must have happened. But unless they advance 5 yards or the kick has touched the ground or any other player, you can't block the kicker or place kick holder, right? It's a foul. All right. No member of the kicking team shall initiate contact to block an opponent on a free kick until the legal kick has traveled 10 yards. The kicking team is eligible to recover a free kick, and the receiving team initiate the block within the neutral zone. Now, let's talk about this, because a really smart coach on the receiving team can really take advantage of this rule, especially in youth, or in high school, because what typically happens, let's say they have an onside kick, R advances to recover the ball. As R advances to recover the ball, K comes and lays into R. That is a foul for a legal block. because K cannot touch R within those 10 yards. One, K cannot legally recover the ball because the ball must go 10 yards and be touched the ground. Although it fulfilled one requirement by touching the ground, it has not went 10 yards yet. So basically, K has to stand by it and allow R to either pick the ball up and then make the tackle, or they land on the ball. But K cannot legally touch R within those 10 yards, even if R advances within that neutral zone. Now, if R goes to make contact with K, K can now defend himself and block back, right? So an onside kick, if R runs up, K literally has to stand back, just like if it was a fair catch signal, and cannot make contact with R within those 10 yards, all right? So a smart coach will take advantage of that and maybe even get a foul. A receiver who has given a valid or invalid fair catch signal shall not block an opponent and the kick has ended. So again, if I, as a receiver, if I give a fair catch signal, valid or invalid, right, I cannot block K at all until the kick has ended, right? So if I give a valid fair catch signal and the ball hits the ground and it rolls past me and K is trying to recover it, I cannot block K while the ball is still, a kick is still a kick. It's a 15-yard penalty for me to touch anybody on K while the kick is still in progress. Now we know a kick ends when in possession by a runner, right? So if my teammate secures the ball and picks it up to advance, now I'm free to block. The kick becomes dead by rule. If it goes into the end zone or go out of bounds, the kick has ended. But you shouldn't be blocking anyway at that time, so it doesn't really matter. But understand, if I give a valid or invalid fair catch signal, just like I'm protected from K from hitting me, K is now protected from me from hitting him until the kick has ended. All right, responsibility on players to avoid illegal contact. While it is imperative for coaches to continue teaching players how to avoid illegal contact, players are ultimately responsible for using legal blocking and tackling techniques. All right, that applies to everything, correct? So just because the guy went out of bounds, we didn't blow our whistle, right? The players still need to know when to make contact and when not to make contact, right? If a player is on his knees with the ball, the player's dead. If a defender come and ram him over, that's a foul. It goes by, well, you didn't blow the whistle. Well, don't we know that when the player's down, it's not NFL, he can't get up. This ultimately is player's responsibility to know a live ball versus a dead ball, even if we don't blow the whistle, right? Why? Because of inverted whistles. If we don't see the ball, we're not going to blow the whistle until we see the ball. That may be a momentary delay, but that still don't give the defense any leeway or freedom to cream somebody out when the ball is dead. All right, section 4, personal contact. We're probably going to end in this section, and we're going to try to cover everything in this section right here, illegal personal contact. This is the one I really wanted to do all of this training on this section, but obviously I'm doing a disservice because there's a lot more in Rule 9 than section 4. So we're going to try to cover everything, but I was struggling about just talking about so much in section 4. All right. All right, no player or non-player shall charge into or throw an opponent to the ground after he is obviously out of the play or after the ball is clearly dead, either in or out of bounds. All right, and this is more of a common thing we see a lot. But the thing is, what we also see is people headhunting. So you gotta, especially in youth, sometimes you see it a lot, where obviously a defender seeing that the runner is down or he's in the grass with his teammates and just standing there, not trying to make a tackle, and then an offensive player comes and just clean his clock, right? Even if he hit him in the front, right? He's charging to a player who's obviously out of the play, illegal, right? It's a personal foul. And again, the difference between a speeding and running over a person with your car, this will fall under running over a person with your car. And we're not going to give a warning. We're not going to say, don't do that again. It's going to be a flag, right? And we feel that it's flagrant, guess what? There could be a disqualification. Hurdle an opponent. Now, this is one on the picture that's depicted here. In high school football, to hurdle an opponent is a personal foul. You cannot jump over a player if he's got 1 or 2 feet on the ground. The player's laying flat on the ground, yes, you can hurdle him. But if a player is trying to make a tackle and he's on his feet, you cannot jump over that player to gain yardage. All right? And if you see here, it's just dangerous. You see his foot is hitting him in the helmet. A lot of players can get hurt. Even the runner can get hurt. That is illegal. We have to flag those. I know it looks cute. It looks great in the NFL when they jump over a player and score a touchdown. But in National Federal High School rules and youth, hurdling is out. No hurdling. All right. All right. Illegal personal contact. No player, non-player shall make contact with any opponent, including defensive player, which is deemed unnecessary and excessive and which incites roughness. Rule 494G. Now, this is what we call the catch-all clause in personal fouls. All right? That can apply to anything that, in your opinion, is unnecessary and excessive and incite roughness. So this right here, we see the suplex, right? The runner, he grabs him, he picks him up, and he slams him down backwards. That is a personal foul. I remember I seen it a couple times in my games, long time ago. We didn't call it because it was one of those things that was not really emphasized on back then, but now it is. They don't want to see that no more. It's not football. Make the tackle, take him to the ground. We don't be picking them up, slamming them, or any of that unnecessary roughness stuff. We have to call those things because it's for player safety. And again, a lot of times it's going to start a fight anyway. So we have to be on that, okay? All right, defenseless player. A player on the ground, including a runner who's obviously giving himself up or is sliding feet first, and a runner already in the grasp of a tackler and whose forward progress has been stopped are defenseless players, all right? Again, you can go to Rule 232 and read the definition of a defenseless player and all the categories of a defenseless player. But understanding, player on the ground and somebody come in there specifically and drive into him, they don't have to be with the helmet. If it, in your opinion, it was not necessary, a flag. Okay. Player giving himself up and they just make contact anyway, a flag. Right. All right, grabbing the face mask. That also includes the mouth protector, which should be in the player's mouth, right? But even if you grab the mouth protector, you grab the helmet, any edges in the helmet. If he grabs and twists and pulls, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty. Now, in high school, we still have the incidental face mask. All right, we still got the 5-yard face mask. In Rule 9, in the bottom section that explains the fouls and penalties, it has in there that there's a 5-yard penalty for incidental face mask. It says it right in that little bold print there. All right. So there's a grab and release. There's a 5 yards for the grab and twist and yank and jerk, all that stuff like that. Is a 15-yard penalty. Now, I have called this on a runner as well. A runner, now it's not a face mask to put your hand on the face guard, right? Do this for my runner. That is not face mask, all right? The runner's the only one allowed to do that anyway. But if the runner grab him and grab him like this, now we have an incidental face mask. But if we grab him and jerk him, now we have a personal foul on the runner for a face mask. Right? Now, let's talk about targeting and illegal contact of the helmet. Right? One, you see in pick A, defender launching and initiating contact with the top of the helmet. Not that is a foul for spearing and could be illegal personal contact as well. If it's flagrant, we can get them out of there. But look at the pick B, which is important. The rule applies equally to A and B. If the runner initiates contact with the top of his helmet, it is a foul for spearing. This is where we have a lot of like, do we call it, do we not call it? And a lot of times we don't make this call. And it's when the B is going for the tackle and R and A the runner drop his head and there's helmet contact. Obviously the team A want illegal helmet contact, and you tell them, well, it was on your runner, and they look at you like, what are you talking about? The runner can do that. The runner cannot drop his head and put his helmet into a defender to gain yardage. All right? Just can't do it, and it needs to be taken out from the training and teaching. Yes, they may go down a little bit trying to get through two. You know, if I got a B here and a B here, and they're closing in vertically on me, yes, I can go down and try to drive forward to get yardage. But if I got somebody standing directly in front of me, I cannot dip my head and drive my helmet into that defender. That's spearing. And again, don't make it equally upon A and B. The runner do not get allowance to drive a helmet into a defender just because he has the ball. All right, prohibition on contact on helmet. There's three things: butt blocking, face tackling, and spearing. Butt blocking mostly pertain to team A, where they lead with their face mask versus the arms, and they drive their face mask into the body of B. That's face butt blocking. Face tackling deals more in regards to the defense, tackling someone, driving his face into him, and then wrapping. That's face tackling. And spearing is obviously spear is an act by any player who initiate contact against an opponent at the shoulders or below with the crown or top portion of the helmet. The shaded area is the crown. Okay, cannot do it. It is illegal. And again, we have to call it equally on offense and defense. It's just not a defensive foul. All right, no, I think I had it already. Okay. All right, let's talk about horse collar, because there's a lot of confusion in horse collar, and people see the grab and they automatically think it's a foul, and it could be, but it's also could not be, and we're going to look at that. Horse collar. Horse collar tackle not complete until the runner crosses the goal line, dead ball foul. Now, I looked at that and I was kind of confused because in the rules it says all horse collars are live ball fouls. However, he said he crossed the goal line, which means it's going to be treated as a dead ball foul because now A has the choice to take it on a try or the subsequent kickoff. And so I'm like, okay, I understand it now. Because I was very confused because in the rule book, it says all horse collars are treated as live ball fouls. But then it says it's a dead ball foul. I'm like, how? But I get it because he scored a touchdown. All right, illegal horse collar tackle. The nameplate area directly below the collar has been added to the criteria for illegal horse collar. Is the foul to grab the inside back nameplate area or side collar of either the shoulder pad or the jersey of a runner and subsequently pull backwards or sideways. that opponent to the ground, even if possession is lost. The horse collar is enforced as a live ball foul. All right, horse collar checklist. There's three things that consist of a horse collar. First, the grab. All right, inside the back collar, nameplate area, either side of the shoulder pads, or jersey. The second is the subsequent pull. All right, so it has to be a grab, then it has to be a pull. All right, and then to the ground. All right, so it has to be grab, pull, and taking the player to the ground backwards or sideways. All right, so if you don't see those three things, it's not a horse collar. All right. Now, no horse collar fouls. An opponent falls forward. So although the defender may grab him in the area that's considered part of the horse collar, in the nameplate in here or here, but the runner falls forward, there's no horse collar foul. Although the team's going to cry, that's a horse collar because they see the grab, but the other things are missing. The pull, backwards or sideward, into the ground. So you got to have all three elements to have a horse collar, not just one. An opponent does not go down. So I have a horse collar, but the opponent is driving me. I release, or he scores a touchdown, and I release. If again, just because I have it, does not mean it's a foul. If it doesn't pull backwards or sideways to the ground, knees buckle, no horse collar foul. Teammates come in to assist in the tackle, like you see in the picture here. So although I have a horse collar, an opponent my teammate comes in the front and make the tackle, even though he may fall backwards, it's no horse collar foul. Right? Although I may fall sideways, no horse collar foul. Grab the collar from the front and pull to the ground. Right? So let's say he grabbed in here and he pulls him to the ground. Not a horse collar because he got to be in the back or the side. Right? In the front does not count. So although you grab him in the front and pull him down, it's not a horse collar. And grab at the top of the shoulder area and pull. So if I grab to the top, and although I may pull him backwards or sideward or to the front, there's no horse collar because it has to be directly back in the nameplate area here or here. Up here is not considered to be part of the horse collar requirements, foul requirement. Okay, so again, that's why we get a lot of flack, a lot of people yelling at us because the thing is just it's not just grabbing him. There's a lot of other. It's three things that has to flow to get that foul, and in those three things are not there. Although the grab is there, the grab is the grab should say, okay, the antenna goes up. And now we're watching to see what happens after that. Did he pull him to the ground backwards? Did he pull him to the ground sideways? All right. Did he go forward? We got nothing. The player comes in and makes the tackle with him, have nothing. He yanks the player and takes him with him and score, and the player let go, we got nothing. Right? Grabs in the front and pull him down, got nothing. All right. So that is to help you out with the horse collar. All right. If a personal foul, if a player or non-player initiate contact with an opposing player's helmet, has come completely off. All right. So again, if my helmet, a player helmet come off, no one else can make contact with him. Obviously, if the runner is dead immediately, but if a player come off another individual who's not the runner, no one can make contact with that individual. or as a personal foul. All right, I think we're going to end it here. Targeting, illegal personal contact. Targeting is an act of taking aim or initiating contact to an opponent above the shoulders with the helmet, forearm, hands, fist, elbow, or shoulders. Targeting may be called for contact against any opponent, including the runner. Note, the passer in this play is also a defenseless player. Targeting is a 15-yard penalty for illegal. So look at some things again. Now it's weird because not weird, but in the rule, in Rule 9 4J, it says strike an opponent with the fist, lock hands, forearms, and elbows, nor kick or knee him. That's a personal foul. But now, if you go down further, it talks about this because that probably was below the shoulder. This we're talking about anything above the shoulders. It's all considered targeting, and they want to definitely targeting is definitely a flagrant foul, and it definitely warrants a disqualification. Right? Again, this is between speeding and running over a person. All right. Targeting is an act of taking initial contact with an opponent above the shoulders with the helmet, forearm. We're here with the elbow in the helmet. Targeting. Is it fighting? Don't know. It could be just targeting block. Don't make a difference. It's all treated the same. Most likely, especially if you see something like this, it better be a disqualification. All right. All right. Close arm. No wrestling. Taking them out. Close arming. Again, forearm is considered targeting. And again, if you want to disqualify a person, wants a disqualification, I'm sure no one's going to argue with you about it. But again, this also includes the runner, right? The runner can't do it either, right? Now look at this one. A blow to the helmet by two linemen in a free blocking zone is not necessarily a targeting foul, right? So again, there's going to be incidental helmet contact. It's football. The reason why you wear the helmet because your head, you're going to hit your head. That's why you wear the helmet. So there will be contact with the helmets. It's inevitable. But the thing is, incidental contact or just normal play football where helmets make contact is not a targeting foul or an illegal helmet contact. You have to use your experience and your judgment to make those decisions. You're going to get flack no matter what, right? People are going to get mad at you and yell at you no matter what you do. But just make sure you understand that just because two helmets make contact, although we talked about it, doesn't necessarily mean it's an illegal contact. All right, blindside blocking. A blindside block is a block outside a free blocking zone against an opponent other than a runner who does not have a reasonable opportunity to see the block approaching. And this, as seen in Pick A blindside block with forceful contact initiated with open hands is legal, inside or outside a free blocking zone. A blindside block is a block on an opponent other than a runner who does not see the blocker approaching. So to make it legal, the hands must be open hand contact, like the open hand blocking technique that in Rule 2.3 about blocking. It's the same thing that the legal blocking, it's just done from a point not seen, right? Open hand technique, right? So even though you might push him to the ground, as long as it's with the open hands and the hands forward, it's fine. But shoulder or head, again, when a player not seeing it coming, this is a blindside block. This is not speeding. This is running over a person, and it must be called. There's some videos. If we had time, I would show you on the subject, like 5 minutes, but we don't have time today. But I may just show them next week. All right, and the last thing, tripping. In the old rules, tripping the runner was legal, right? But now they include the runner. So the foul for tripping has been expanded to include the runner. It is now illegal to trip any opponent. Tripping is an intentional use of the lower leg or foot to obstruct an opponent below the knee. The penalty is a 15-yard penalty. Right. So that's it. We didn't get to roughing the passer, roughing the kicker. We didn't get to none of those. We'll get to those next week and try to finish out Rule 9. So, guys, you can go ahead and